Namaste, my friend. How are you doing? You are progressing, no doubt. You recognize and understand. But still, there are some challenges that comes from our past impression, habits, instinct, and animal mind. As I discussed before, we are going to start a new text and a new teaching. Suffering to happiness. And the entire journey is based on understanding the delusion in our personal, professional, social life. As you recognized, and I appreciate you, that you are seeking an approval from another person. It may be your son, daughter, parents, honey, anyone. So it means there is some kind of a fear and also a lack of emotional freedom. And when we have a lack of emotional freedom, it is known as attachment and it is known as conditional love. We think, it's better, but it is conditional love. So there is a kind of a fear and attachment and expectation continues. And if this continues and we do not remove by the understanding and knowledge, then it causes the delusion. So the delusion and conditional love continues in our life in variety of ways. And if the delusion and the conditional love, so-called emotional dependence or attachment continues in our life, we will not be able to bring an end to the suffering. That is the problem. So in this series, as we have started the series Suffering to Happiness, starting from your problem of the sleep, and now we are going deeper and deeper. So let us do this one mantra and see how it can help us remove the delusion, and this mantra should become a part and parcel of your life. So just close your eyes and being comfortable. Close your eyes and move the mind. Find out the most comfortable posture, place, position. The place, you are aware of the space all around. Don't go too far. Don't start looking at other articles. Just become aware of the space all around. So that is your space and find out the most comfortable posture. And then being comfortable. Being comfortable, looking at the neck joint, being there. Feel the sensation, comfort and steadiness. Move the mind on the shoulder joints. So what it means, you become aware of the shoulder joints. When you are aware, you have a knowledge. And knowledge also, you have an experience of the sensation, comfort, and steadiness. Say, if you don't have a sensation, move your mind again onto the shoulder joints. And you may start looking inside to find the root of the joint. Goal is change the direction of the mind. Why to change the direction of the mind? Mind is deluded by imagined pain, pleasure, expectation, attachment in the world outside with people, situation, condition, and relationship. We have dropped everything. We have changed the direction of the mind. That's why you are looking deep inside. And you experience the sensation, comfort, and steadiness. The entire body from the top of the head to the toes. Your mind moves on the skin of the body from the top of the head to the toes. And as you move, you experience the sensation, comfort, and steadiness. In that state of sensation, comfort, and steadiness, find out if the mind wants to rush outside. If it wants to rush outside, we have to be carefree. Find out in sensation, comfort, and steadiness if the mind wants to run outside. How it will run outside? By moving the body. You will start scratching. No scratching, please. Body remain in the state of steadiness. You continue to feel the sensation. If that is so, we need to be carefree of thoughts and feelings. So what you do in order to be carefree, fact is that you do nothing. Then how to be carefree? How to be carefree? So look inside the forehead in the space. It is like a sky, and on it the birds are flying. Remember, nothing happens to the bird, nothing happens to the sky. Millions of birds, or even the cloud. Nothing happens to the sky. We say that the sky is clouded by the dark clouds. But still, nothing happens to the sky. Did you understand that? Now in that, on the space, watch, feel, and observe the thoughts and feelings are moving like the birds flying in the sky or clouds. We are fully aware, even if there are dark clouds, we know the sky, nothing happens to the sky. Nothing happens to the space. Good thought, bad thought, associated with the feeling and emotions comes and goes. Watch it, observe it, understand it. That is important. We will understand clearly all these unwelcome and undesirable thoughts and feelings, whether good or bad, feelings, good or bad, come from the vasana. I told you the past impressions already accumulated inside the storehouse of the mind. So you are just watching because these impressions and thoughts takes the shape, and that causes they that these impressions takes the shape and the form and causes delusion. So we are not at all interested. Let them come, let them go. Very good. Continue. Now, in the state of sensation, comfort, and steadiness, mind is living within, looking at the space inside. You start gently but longer. You start the humming sound. How? You take a deep, silent, and slow breathing. You inhale means, and at the time of exhaling, start the gentle humming sound, long, deep, and large. While humming, you empty the lungs. And then do not be in a hurry. Start inhaling deep, silent, and slow for a longer period until you inhale until the neck and the throat. And then again. And stop this humming sound mentally on that space inside the forehead. Drop the mantra after me. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah. One more time. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah. Now meaning let everyone be happy. That is the meaning of the mantra. What about the knowledge? Let everyone be happy. You become aware of all the people near and dear to you and start reflecting that happiness is there in their heart. Why? Happiness is the essential nature of everyone. And what is the delusion? I am searching happiness outside. I said, let everyone be happy. Means happiness is our essential nature. But if I do not know, I start searching that happiness in the world outside. Good. Now in searching happiness outside is a delusion. Oh my goodness. So I'm already caught in delusion. How I search that? How I search? Oh, by seeking approval, by getting attached, by expectation. So not only the thoughts are distorted, but my emotion also creates a dependence. So what happens? There is a delusion and there is a conditional love. And now the journey of the suffering begins. Did you understand? This is what journey of the suffering begins. If one is angry over you, he does not know. Happiness is there. Happiness is within. Why he is angry over you? Why he is angry over you? Because of expectation. So the same thing happens to us also. We recognize the delusion. We recognize the delusion and we recognize the delusion, and we also recognize the emotional dependence. Simply recognize it, and once you recognize it, it will go. Sarve santu niramaya. Sarve santu niramaya. Meaning, let everyone be in the state of the well-being. Well-being, it has the physical component, it has the emotional component, it has the knowledge component. Now in that state of the well-being, our body is disturbed by the mind, emotional dependence is there, and instead of the knowledge, we are driven by the ignorance that causes the delusion and conditional love that causes the problem. You have to write it down, right? You have to write to me that whether you have really understood or not. When I understand, so I recognize emotional dependence and I also recognize the delusion. So when I recognize it, then I will not put my hand into the fire. Sarve bhadrani pashyantu. Sarve bhadrani pashyantu. Mean, let the grace and the blessing should fall upon everyone. My friend, when there is no delusion, when there is no conditional love, you open the gateway to the blessing and the grace of the existence upon you. If there is no delusion, no conditional love, what happens? We open the gateway to grace and the blessing. That is the meaning. So you need not to worry about the grace and the blessing. Our goal is to remove that conditional love and the delusion from our life in our thought, speech, and action. Ma kaschid dukha bhag bhavet. Ma kaschid dukha bhag bhavet. Let none suffer from misery in this world. Misery? Oh, misery is caused by the delusion and emotional dependence. All misery caused by delusion and conditional love. We have to understand it clearly. Now, in that state, just look at the breath. You are looking at the breath, no change. You feel the sensation of the breath, no change. Sensation of the breath, and a gentle breath goes in and out. Independent. Find the sense of independence, a sense of freedom, an experience of joy, peace, and calm. In that state, unconditional love manifests. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om Shanti. First Shanti to the known world around us. People, place, relations, etc., etc. Shanti. Second to the unknown world around us. And the third Shanti is within all of us. In that state, open your eyes slowly and stay there to understand this delusion and emotional dependence. During the day, we see something that looks really attractive and we think it will make me happy. It comes by default because of the past impression. And then we create a like and dislike, like a new car, a big home, a fancy vacation, praise and appreciation from the friend and the colleague. This happens throughout the day. We start, then what happens? The mind has already created the likes, so we start chasing them. Thinking, again thought comes, thinking that they will bring us the joy and satisfaction. In your case, you realized you're seeking an approval that will bring the joy and satisfaction. Now, what happened? Soon our joy and elated ego is frustrated because situation, people, relations changes. Then what happens? We experience pain, hurt, frustration, agony, anxiety, reaction, but still we do not want to, our mind does not want to understand. We still start chasing the same thing. So you see, there is an appreciation and a pleasure, and then there is an emotional pain and dependence, and then we continue to run in the world outside seeking as if the peace and happiness are outside. That is delusion. And your frustration is an emotional reaction. Two things: delusion, and second is the emotional pain, anguish, and frustration. Our journey is we have to hammer this delusion by knowledge, by understanding. And we empty the mind to allow the space to be filled with the unconditional love that manifests from within. We have to remove the delusion. We have to remove the delusion by thinking and reflection and understanding and redirect our emotion to the real self. Why redirect that emotion to the real self within? That is of the nature of unconditional love. Are you understanding? That is our journey. I told you in the beginning, we will hammer the delusion and we will discover the unconditional love. All praise, appreciation is conditional love. You might have already, we both are of the same age, so we might have experienced. Today is appreciation, tomorrow is criticism. And we continue with that in delusion. That is why our journey is to hammer the delusion and for discover the unconditional love. All praise, appreciation is nothing but the conditional love. That conditional love is nothing but the attachment. And in the attachment, sometimes we find elated, our ego inflates. And then it falls down, shattered. So delusion and the conditional love causes endless suffering. How long we suffer from this delusion and conditional love? Have you pinpointed? We live our life in delusion and conditional love every day, every week, months after months, years after years. And we have accumulated those impressions in our mind. It creates an unending cycle. Unending cycle inside impressions, manifest outside. again it creates more impression. So this circle I am repeating, and I don't know that is the delusion. Still we are chasing the same. We continue to suffer. Can you tell me anyone in the world only praises you, only love you, never reacted, never objected, never cause you any frustration? Find out anyone in the world except the teacher. Because the teacher is teaching you the Eastern wisdom. And Eastern wisdom is the discovery of the real self, of the nature of peace, happiness, love, truth, and wisdom. But sometimes you are also frustrated with me also. Oh, I want this and you are teaching me this. No. You have to contemplate and reflect. I teach only with the total focus of the mind that how your behavior and attitude changes, what you have discovered, what kind of a frustration you have. I summarize that in every session. So we keep trying in a wrong direction. Are you understanding? Step by step. So outside, the peace and happiness, love and wisdom are not the property of anything, any situation, any time, any relation outside. So it means I'm searching in a wrong direction. That itself is a delusion. And from the delusion, I am attached, and that attachment, I claim it is unconditional love. Fact is, it is conditional love, and it causes the frustration. You know, we all work day in, day out, chasing our dream and trying to make a better life for ourselves and our loved ones. We think if we just get attached, live in a fairy tale, seeking happiness outside, one day I will find abundance of peace, happiness, and love. It is not possible. Why it is not? It is not possible. That is why that final moment of permanent peace and happiness based on the world outside never comes in our life. And that is what I said, cycle. Cycle is constantly repeated again and again and again and again. Our master says, this cycle we have to break. What we have to do to break this cycle, hammer the delusion and redirect your emotions to the real self, to break the neck of the conditional love, and you will discover the unconditional. Conditional love means what? Attachment. Or conditional love, let us define in a simple way. Conditional love means that one loves us, one loves me with a condition. Because that person likes me, so he loves me. Well, is it possible the person dislikes me and still loves me? It is not possible. So from where the likes and dislikes have come, it is the production of the mind. From where it has come? It has come from the projection and imagined. So what are those conditions of liking? It may be an expectation, an attachment. Some are seeking security from others, and then we find, oh, this is the love I'm seeking. So look at the delusion. Look at the delusion of the mind. I like because you fulfill my expectations, hence I love you. If that statement comes to your mind, you have to be alert. That is the movement of the delusion. Can I continue to love even if you hate or dislike me? Answer, it never happens in the world outside because it never happens. That's why we have divorce, we have conflict, siblings separate, parents separate, and long list. Conditional love begins with a projected, imagined happiness, peace, and attachment. How can we have an unconditional love in the imagination and projection? It is the truth. It has had nothing to do with imagination at all. Do you want to know the unconditional love? Look at the teeth that hurts your tongue. You do not punish your teeth. Teeth says, I still love you. Tongue says, I still love you. We fell on the ground. We hurt our knee. We do not punish the ground. We know it is unconditional. The existence of the earth is unconditional. We cannot do anything in the world. So we are seeking happiness in our life and the love, abundance of love. Abundance means love in all situations, in all the locations, in all the conditions, in all the relationship. Unless I discover that love within me and I continue to manifest that, I'm in the mode of unconditional love. So what happens? What our master says that first there is a peace within. Delusion is minimized, that manifests in happiness. Then peace and the happiness associated with the pure emotion. What is pure emotion? It is not directed outside. It is always directed inside. It is not directed outside, my friend. So when it is directed outside and the delusion is not there, you are filled with unconditional love. Think. And it happens by removing the delusion, by self-inquiry, by understanding, by contemplation and reflection. Do you want to feel the unconditional love? So if we feel somewhere, so we can understand that unconditional love is taught by the nature every day, every moment. Look at the nature means the space is always there. The space does not change its property. Whether you go to New Jersey or California or Fresco, the space welcomes you. The space reaches before you. Unconditional love is always present. Same thing with the air. I'm sleeping, I'm unconscious, and still the air is available to me. I'm just giving you an idea. And in unconditional love, you are always present. Water is always available. They do not blame and complain. They have no likes and dislikes. We pollute it, that is different thing. So in unconditional love, In unconditional love, you are always present. Always present. Present to what? Present to manifest that love. You don't worry about others. So if I discover from within, then only it will happen. Nothing in the world has the property of unconditional love and happiness. Nothing in the world. First thing to understand very clearly. Then, if it is not there, and if my mind is seeking that outside, I should recognize by thinking, contemplation, and reflection, and I should tell the mind, please stop it. You have made me fool so many years, weeks, months. Now it is not possible. It means what? You are hammering the delusion. You are giving a break to the habitual and the animal mind. We are giving a space to the mind to discover that unconditional love. Unconditional love, by definition, absence of any condition of likes and dislikes, of attachment and detachment, of duality and a conflict, of pain and the bliss. You pollute the air and still you breathe oxygen. You pollute the water and still you drink water. Nature of the five elements are nothing but the unconditional love. Our goal, hammer the delusion and discover the unconditional love. Both are linked together, deeply associated. When there is an absence of delusion in the mind, unconditional love will manifest by itself. You need not to think of it. Have you seen the caterpillar and the butterfly? Just as the caterpillar must shed its cocoon to emerge as a butterfly. It sheds the cocoon to emerge as a butterfly. We must shed our delusions and attachment to realize our true nature and experience the unconditional love. I have to shed my cocoon. My mind is totally surrounded, feel busy, and seeking approval, getting attached, then frustrated, then making a constant effort, creating a cycle of the delusion all the time. I have to shed this cocoon to emerge as a butterfly to start. We must shed our delusion. And once we shed all the delusion, unconditional love rises like a sun rises in the morning. The sun sets in the evening, but this sun of love never sets. Another example, the sun behind the clouds. Nothing happens to the sun. Unconditional love is like the ever-present sun, which remains constant even when obscured by the clouds. Our delusion and aversions are like the clouds. It can only go away by understanding the principles, then contemplating and reflecting. Did you understand? No? I am attached to something and I feel this attachment will give me pleasure. So this is the thought associated with an emotion. What is the principle? We learned that happiness is not the property of anything in the world. Now I repeat this thought. What happens to the previous thought? My mind gets a break. It withdraws itself because happiness is not outside. Why you are searching outside? So there are barriers of attachment, cocoon of attachment and delusion, and emotional dependence prevents us to find. Until now, we have understood suffering stems from ignorance and delusion, not from the external circumstances. Realizing our true nature is the key to experience unconditional love, and we can transcend the suffering. Any practice, especially the self inquiry and meditation, are essential tools. Detachment and equanimity are crucial in our life for receiving grace and becoming more resilient. Unconditional love is a natural expression of our true nature, not something to be sought or acquired. You just remove the delusion, it flows. Remove the clouds, the sun is there. Remove the cocoon, the butterfly starts flying. That is what happens. One great master and a poet, I don't remember the name of that poet or master, but I will give you what he said. Your task, he says, your task is not to seek for love. In the name of the love, we are seeking attachment. So our task is not to seek love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within myself that I have built against. What are those barriers? Those barriers are the delusion. Behind and beyond the delusion and conditional love of clouds, unconditional love and knowledge remains constant. It's a journey, I told you. So if you get discouraged or impatient when progress seems slow or difficult, it happened to you many a times. Like the sleep problem. So becoming discouraged and impatient when progress seems slow or difficult is a big challenge. You have to remind yourself, I am of the nature of peace, happiness, truth, and wisdom. Falling into the trap of, sometimes I would call it falling into the trap of spiritual bypassing, using spiritual practices to avoid addressing psychological and emotional issues. If you do not understand one thing, did you understand this point? And then you did not understand. You say, okay, let me close my eyes and do the practice and everything will be solved. No, that is spiritual bypassing. You have to have a knowledge and understanding clearly before you practice. Becoming attached. Say, for example, today you experience the infinite peace and the joy after meditation, and then you get attached to that peace and the joy. That is very dangerous. Every time you practice meditation, you'll have a new experience. There are more challenges. We fail to integrate these teachings in our daily life, creating a disconnect. So you are creating a disconnect between your practice and the actions. So behavior and attitude will not change. And the behavior and attitude which is governed by the delusion will again take over you. You'll have a problem. And that is why in the last session we discussed about delusion, we discussed about ignorance, we discussed about cosmic illusion. Now you see the connection between these lessons. So I directly talked about delusion, illusion, and the ignorance, not knowing. Because of these three factors, and what causes these factors? Our vasanas, trillions of impression is already accumulated. And from the vasana, you have an imagined, I told you, now do you remember? I told you imagined thought of likes and dislikes, and that causes the delusion. We have to hammer the delusion with the knowledge and wisdom. By these principles, I am simply saying you are attached. Because of the attachment, you are frustrated, and then you remind the principle why I am attached, because I am seeking peace and happiness and love and approval. But happiness is not outside in anything in the world. So this is the principle you remember. Where? In your head. So if you don't remember, nothing will work. That is the meaning of hammering the delusion, by knowledge. And that is what we say the self-inquiry. You question your belief and assumption. What is that belief and assumption? That this person will definitely give me love and happiness. Not possible. But it doesn't mean that you go to that person and declare it. This is for you. This is for your education. This is for your training. You are learning. You are a seeker. So when you remove that delusion, you will discover the calmness and the joy manifest in you. And in that joy and the calmness, one day that unconditional love expresses itself through the body, mind, intellect. Then if someone criticizes you because you are in the mode of unconditional love, what do you recognize? What your mind says? He is angry or upset because he is also searching peace and happiness outside. He wants his expectations to be fulfilled. And because he is attached, because he finds that attachment is an unconditional love, and that is why he is angry and upset. You have a compassion for that person who becomes angry and upset with you. But gradually the time comes, you don't make anyone upset. It's a training, education. Then what happens? You cannot make anyone unhappy, means that expressing unconditional love in thought, speech, and action. Then you speak with empathy and understanding. You act with the selflessness and generosity. You respond to the challenges with the patience and resilience. Life changes. I can bet you, life changes. That is what my master used to teach. Another master says that when all the binding desire, so when he uses the binding desire, it means all attachment, expectation, likes and dislikes, vasanas, the past impression, sankalpa and the vikalpa, imagined pleasure and the pain, and that causes the desire. So he is using only one word. He says, when all the binding desire that dwell in my mind are cast away. Cast away. What happens? Then this body mind complex, which is mortal, becomes immortal. Why? Because now you have realized the real self. The path to transcend the body mind complex is to experience that freedom. You were talking about that you want to live for 100 years. Why not forever? Why not forever? So this Eastern wisdom teaches that. What is that state forever? Self-realization. We have to do this self-inquiry. We have to contemplate and reflect on the binding desires that causes the delusion, and one by one we have to remove all the delusions. The root cause of our suffering, I told you, is the delusion, ignorance and illusion. And what is the cause of them? Deep-rooted mental impressions, which I said, vasanas. What is the role of knowledge and wisdom in the journey? Knowledge and wisdom helps to challenge and dispel my false belief and delusion. It challenges. So when you challenge this false belief and the delusion, mind is clear. Okay, mind is clear. Then how to discover that unconditional love is discovered by transcending your ego. Ego is another part of the delusion. When you remove all the delusion, including the ego, that unconditional love manifests. You need not to think of it. It will come in the front. How can seeker apply the teachings in daily life? Regular contemplation and reflection, listening, summarizing the talk, and sending me your reflection. This is what I have understood. So once what you have understood, just after listening, you start analyzing and summarizing it. So simple. So when you summarize, I will look into it. So what we are going to do in our next lesson, we will identify how this delusion causes the impure states of the mind. And what are those impure states of the mind? 2. And how that impure states of the mind works. So you will have a deeper insight into this delusion.